Welcome back to Here's the News, episode 3 of our news show. I'm here once again with my co host Ari to break down a stacked week of movie and TV news. Everyone's talking about Jimmy Kimmel back on the airwaves, only a few days off the air. Felt like an eternity for Disney, I'm sure, but we'll talk about that. Mandalorian and Grogu, of course, had their trailer come out today. Better late than never, I guess. Speaking of better late than never, we'll be talking about Batman 2 as well. So there's a lot to talk about this week, but not to rush into things. Let's get to my co-host. Once again, I am joined by Ari. How are you feeling this week? Feeling a little bit better than you felt on our special episode regarding the Kimmel issues a few days ago?
Yeah, I'm feeling better. I just hope that when they say that he can say what he wants, that's true.
It'll be very interesting. We'll see what he
It'll
says.
be very interesting because they say it's true now, but we can only be the judges of that when we see it. And it's interesting because a week ago, if you would have been like, "All right, you watching Jimmy Kimmel tonight?" I'm like, "No." Who watches these talk show hosts? But now I'm going to be watching Kimmel every night. I mean, I'm at least for the first couple weeks. I want to see what's going on.
And let's get right to that news. Bring it in, Willie. As everyone's been talking about, Jimmy Kimmel had his show preempted for a few days, and now he's back on the air. I believe it's Tuesday. He comes back on. He says they will not change his monologue. The quote, I believe, was Jimmy says what Jimmy wants to say, something along those lines. In response to that, Sinclair, one of the biggest reasons there was even a problem in the first place with Jimmy, said they're going to not air the episode. So one of their biggest broadcasters still is not going to air the episode. So all of this delaying, all of this canceling, they're still not going to air it anyway. So what was really accomplished here? But yeah, I want to get your opinion, Ari. Why do you think this happened? Do you think the boycotting and the cancellations of Disney Plus and the stock dropping on Disney stock dropped pretty consistently day after day since the news broke? Do you think all of that had an effect here? Or do you think it was just, they were always going to come back? It was just going to take a few days?
I definitely think it affected it. Like maybe he would have come back eventually, but I don't know. I mean, the amount of outpouring support and damnation of the decision was so huge. I mean, even the right was, at least some people on the right were coming together and be like, this is too far. Like, this is, like, I don't like him at all in any way, shape, or form, but he should be able to, I mean, that's what you hire him for. Like, you hired him, he's a talk show host. You hired him to say things, to make jokes, and that's what he's here for. But I'm curious, so when that says Nexstar, Sinclair, they won't air it, they are who air it on ABC, correct?
Not everywhere, but in certain parts of the country. And Nexstar has not said they're not going to air it. I'm not sure if they will or not, but Sinclair, which was one of the two big providers that they aren't going to air, they're sticking to the gun saying we're not going to air it. Nexstar has not said anything yet.
So if they air it on ABC, then it just wouldn't be able to be seen in certain parts of the country?
Yeah, and if you're part of the country where Sinclair provides your ABC, you're not going to be able to see Jimmy Kimmel tomorrow night, and maybe for the foreseeable future. They haven't said anything about the rest of the show. They said they're undecided. They're going to wait and see. But they're probably at least doing this out of essentially protest, right? Like they didn't get what they wanted. He's not going to censor himself. He's not going to even apologize. So now they're just stopping their feet saying, well, we're not going to show it anyway.
That would be a very bizarre situation. I mean, I don't think has anything like that ever happened in the history of television?
I would have to check, but it seems like a big deal.
Because that's like, yeah,
Sinclair, interestingly, also pulled out of airing the Charlie Kirk memorial service that aired recently, which is airing, I believe, in Jimmy Kimmel's time slot. They also chose not to air that.
Oh. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm just curious to see what the show looks like. Who will his first guest back be? Like, could we see him as a really F you to Trump, like interview someone who's very politically active, like Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah, I think that's going to be his list. I think especially when he gets into award season, it's just going to be all of those famous liberal Hollywood elites who want to come on the show and have a victory lap.
Wait, has he interviewed Mark Ruffalo for his new show yet?
That I don't know, but
because if he hasn't, that would even just make sense to talk.
Yeah, it's a perfect timing.
Yeah, that'd be perfect timing. So yeah, I'm really interested to see his guests on our. What is he gonna like? Is he straight up just not gonna? I'd imagine he may just not apologize at all.
It sounds like he wouldn't. He's not going to. From what it sounds like, I'm curious to see what it looks like. And like you said, I'm going to definitely be watching this first episode and seeing how it goes. And as we go through the awards season, George Clooney will surely show up. A lot of people who are politically minded are also on the awards circuit, so they're going to be there too. And I'm sure people are like knocking down his door to be on the show. They want to come on now that there's going to be more attention than ever on the show. Why would you not want to go on there, especially when this is essentially like a bipartisan W, right? Like you said, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they were criticizing this decision. So there's really no reason not to go on here as a celebrity from any side of the aisle and be the unifier. If people are talking about let's bring the country together, let's change the rhetoric. Jimmy Kimmel is now going to find himself being like the center point of that new rhetoric. And it's going to be interesting to see, does he only bring on liberals and people he agrees with, or is he going to make a point to bring on like Ted Cruz and people who are across the aisle from him and try and be that bridge that we're kind of looking for right now? I think that could be a really good spot for him.
Yeah, because I think Mark Ruffalo is extremely likely because he's been very vocally like speaking out against this. Like he just shared a post from ACLU, like this is just violation of freedom of speech. Oh boy, okay. Yeah. Mark Ruffalo is very, very vocally political. Apparently, he said America soon will feel like we're living under the Taliban.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo is certainly one of the more politically active Hollywood celebrities, and he's got an Avengers movie coming out not all that far from now. So he'll be on the circles, Avengers and Spider-Man.
And Javier Bardem had F1. He could interview him for award season.
You know who else is definitely going to be there sooner than later?
Who?
Pedro Pascal for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian and Grogu had their first poster released today, and as well as the first trailer. We'll start out with the poster. Ari, what'd you think of this poster? Definitely going through an old school throwback kind of vibe. The cereals that inspired Star Wars. What do you think of the look?
I will actually say that I liked the poster significantly more than the trailer. If you just showed me the poster and I didn't watch the trailer, I'd be like, hey, I'm interested. Let's just get into it. What are your overall thoughts on this trailer?
Yeah, start with the poster because I do think the poster gives you a good vibe for what I hope this movie is going for, because I like that kind of almost like Solo, where Solo felt like this swashbuckling adventure in space, and when it was doing that, that was kind of the best parts of that movie. So I would love to see Mandalorian lean in to that kind of inspiration and the stuff that brought Star Wars, out in the first place.
Yeah, it's even got that font. The font reminds me of one of those old serials.
But I will say the poster does not help me beat the this looks like a TV show allegations. I mentioned if you put out this poster and you slapped on the bottom corner a Hulu original film or something like that, I wouldn't blink twice. It kind of feels like it would mix right in with like the poster feed on Disney Plus, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just hope this movie can sell itself as an actual like grand scale movie that's deserving of the comeback of Star Wars, the first movie in how many years. Star Wars is finally back where it belongs on the big screen, but is this going to feel like a movie, or is it just going to feel like a TV movie? And this trailer, it looks good, it looks all right, but it didn't sell me on being anything more than just a Mandalorian movie, which is what it is, right? But it doesn't feel like the grand scale, big Star Wars movie that I was kind of hoping it would. But it's only a teaser. We'll see more. But I was kind of hoping that they would sell me with like, oh, this effects shot is incredible, or oh, this action scene is incredible. And it was just kind of like slightly advanced versions of what we've already seen on the Disney Plus shows in terms of the action and the cinematography and the effects. They looked good, but not like considerably better than what we've gotten in like the Mandalorian's best episodes and stuff like that.
To me, what I'm confused about is there was a version of the trailer leaked like a month or so ago it was shown at a convention somewhere, and it's different. They actually start it with an action sequence of Mando walking into a ship and fighting a bunch of people, and it's a really good like one take sequence, but then that's not here. So I'm wondering, like what? Where did that change? Because to me, the teaser trailer that I saw leaked I enjoyed it a good amount more than this.
It's not all that uncommon for conventions to show like slightly extended trailers or a whole scene before they show the trailer, that kind of stuff. I did hear though that this trailer was cut, complete, and ready to go last week, and they were planning on releasing it early last week. But once the Jimmy Kimmel news came out and that like dominated the entirety of the conversation, especially around Disney, they said, "Okay, let's not do that," and conveniently released it right after or right around the news came of Jimmy Kimmel's rehiring. Right, I think that was not totally a coincidence.
I don't think the trailer is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just like it's exactly what you think. You know, it looks like the Mandalorian. It like it doesn't feel any different. And I've seen a lot of people criticizing like there's this post going around on Twitter, shows binary sunset, and then it shows the wedding scene from Attack of the Clones, and then it shows the throne room fight from The Last Jedi, and then it cuts to the shot at the beginning of the trailer of Grogu and him by that beach, and it's just like, okay, it has that feel of in Mandalorian where it just looks like this was shot in like California, and they didn't try to do much to make it look like a different alien planet.
There's that really, at least probably the best shot in the trailer in terms of like effects and scale is the AT-AT like collapsing off the side of the mountain. That was a pretty cool shot. And you can see like when the face of the AT-AT is hitting the snow, you're like, I don't know if that's the real face hitting real snow, but it's pretty close. And I'm looking forward to this movie, but I will say I'm definitely really happy that Starfighter is looming just ahead, because that just seems like it's going to be the actual return of Star Wars, whereas this feels like it's just going to be Mandalorian and Grogu on another adventure, which essentially would have been like season 4 of Mando, but condensed into a film. Which, you know, you look at Moana getting moved to be Moana 2 getting moved to be from Disney Plus to a movie. It hasn't been the first time or the last time that's happened. It seems like maybe the large scale investment in streaming is not paying off financially, and it didn't really make sense to be spending like millions upon millions of dollars for a TV show that people might not watch when you could spend less than that probably to make this movie. Honestly, like if you took the entirety of the budget of one season of The Mandalorian and made a movie out of it, you probably might make more than you ended up would make like in terms of engagement, in terms of fan reception, in terms of people actually thinking Star Wars is back. It's probably better off in the big screen.
I just realized that now with this and Weapons, now we have 2 Pedro Pascal films that were drastically affected by the strikes.
That's very interesting. Yeah, and even Eddington.
Yeah, he was going to be in Weapons, and then the strikes happened, and this was straight up. There's just gonna be season 4, and then the strikes happened. And they decided, you know what? Let's make this into a movie.
Yeah, it sounds like it was the strikes, but it was also just streaming is not what it seemed like it was, right? The gold is not on those hills. The oil did not come pouring out of the streaming wells, right? Like they're making enough to stay afloat, but it just doesn't seem realistic to be investing movie level budgets into a show that's going to be watched by like not that many people.
I do have the question of, are they definitively making enough to stay afloat?
It seems not. Like they would, if they were making enough to stay afloat, they probably wouldn't be making this movie. They would be making season 4 with Mandalorian.
I don't think that's true, because look at how these Marvel shows are doing. I mean, people are watching them, but they're not like when Loki first came out. Like Loki season 1 was like incredible, but that was when Marvel was still Marvel.
And even Loki season 1, I would hesitate to see if it was actually profitable financially for them. Like it was watched by a lot of people, but does that even make you money in the streaming era? It's starting to seem like it doesn't. And all of these studios, including Disney, seem to just be jumping ship in terms of actual large scale like streaming originals and moving to the theater. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of weapons, you should probably talk about the fact that Zach Kreger has officially, for real this time, confirmed that there's at least been talks about doing an Aunt Gladys prequel to Weapons. showing her origin story, where she might have come from, and getting maybe some sympathetic feelings towards the character. It seems like that she had a chapter in Weapons that got cut that was going to try and make you empathize with her and get more of an understanding of where she's coming from. But they decided to cut that just to keep her a little more scary, a little more mysterious. But now they're going to make that into an entire feature film. Probably, like, the movie made so much money. Why would you not do this, right?
And I want to add on that he said he's actually had this ready to go before the movie came out. So I wonder how that worked. He wanted to do that in the movie, then said not to, and so he decided to write this script or put this idea together. So I would imagine, I don't know, does he return to direct this? Does he just write this? And if he just writes this, is there anyone you could imagine directing this?
He's got to direct it, right? Unless they try and go for like because and Gladys, we should go for like a Corley Farge, get like some breaking female voice in horror to do it. But I would like to see him do it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts from you, or are you ready to move on to one of the bigger stories of the week?
No, I don't really have much thoughts on this other than I don't really have an interest in seeing a prequel about her.
Yeah, I probably have more interest than you do, but I was also, I think, more positive than you on the movie as a whole, so that probably does explain that. Here we go. Batman 2. Batman the Part 2 finally happening, and Matt Reeves has been by force having to start clarifying what is going to happen in this movie and actually give us some definitive answers about things. So now we're finding out that the villain of Batman Part 2 will be someone that has never really been done in a movie before. That was his specific language, never really been done. So I start to wonder what he says, what that word really means. You know, is it kind of been done? Have they showed up but not really? Have they showed up but badly? Or is that just him saying really as like a filler word and they've never been done at all on screen?
We really need to have a segment on the show where if there's ever a news story where we need to put on tinfoil hats, we actually put on our tinfoil hats and go, what did this actually mean? What did the way he said this mean? But yeah, I mean, do you want to start with your theories and I can comment on them?
Yeah, let's kind of go person by person here. I got a list of maybe like 8 or so. The top 3, I would say, are like the actual big contenders in terms of people are actually talking about these. There's been actual like in-universe references to these in terms of they may show up. And I also want to keep in mind as we talk about this that he's also mentioned a few other things about the movie in terms of it's going to be focused on Bruce as a character and showing us his character in a way we haven't really seen as well. So it seems to me like this film is going to want to focus on Bruce in a way that the other movie didn't get to, and really pick out a villain here. I think all of these villains in a way can actually bring out the Bruce Wayne side of the character as much as the Batman side of the character.
I think that in terms of that with Bruce, you can do, because the first movie is about Batman. It's more about Batman, and that's what I liked about it is you never like the Batman movie. He's almost just Batman the entire movie. So now you can do the reverse of that. You see more Bruce Wayne. I don't want to see no Batman, but I think we will see more Bruce Wayne and more with that character than we've seen before. I hope they go into like the duality of where does Batman start and where does Bruce Wayne end.
Yeah, I really am curious to see how they do that because Bruce Wayne has always been kind of there, but he's mostly just been like a filler character. So that's what I'm really excited for. But yeah, my first pick that I think is probably the leading cause, at least in my mind, is Hush.
Yeah.
Hush is one of the most acclaimed, or at least popular, Batman stories. It's famous and it is also very, very Bruce oriented. Bruce is kind of a primary part of this and what Bruce would do, Bruce trusting himself, and then how the people feel about Bruce. There's a lot they could do with Hush that I think would be interesting within Bruce. It was also teased in Batman Part 1. You can see the word Hush like spray painted or something like that within the first movie. And you could also tie it into stuff like the Court of Owls and a couple of other story characters you might bring up. But are you familiar with Hush, Ari? Because I would like to talk in more detail about why this would be a good pick, but I'm not like 100% sure what's a spoiler and what's not in regards to who Hush is when you take off the mask of Hush. I don't know how to reveal that to you, but it would be an interesting conversation.
Well, how exactly could he connect to Court of Owls?
Well, you could see him as sort of like a behind the scenes player, and if he becomes a leader of like the Talons, I could see that being a bit of a twist. Like put Tut Hush as the leader of this Talons, have the Court of Owls also be like a parallel to various Batman. You know, like they are taking up vigilante justice in their own way, kind of.
Yeah, I think Hush is the most likely because he wants this to be a sort of more realistic Batman world, and in terms of the realistic villains, that to me is the most interesting, and it's never been done before in a movie.
Yeah, and in terms of who they would cast, I don't want to say who they would cast, but once you read the story, it's pretty obvious who they would probably cast, and I think that would make for a really fun performance. And I think seeing them act against Robert Pattinson would be very cool, and seeing how they do that performance would be a lot of fun, and like effects wise and that kind of stuff. They could do a lot with like the face and the bandages and how disturbed they make them look. You know, he seems to be pretty interested in like the body horror. When you look at how his Joker looked at the end of Batman Part 1, you wonder if this, when you take the bandages off of Hush, maybe the face could look similar to that, kind of almost like falling off or something like
I
that. But
I wanna make comments, but if you don't want to give away anything about the character, then I guess not.
I think we should give something away. Should we give away just who would be
Yeah,
playing this character?
Hush
It's like
basically
20 years ago.
Yeah, Hush basically is a guy who has like an obsession with Bruce, right? And he makes a face of Bruce's and then like sews it onto himself, right?
Yeah, he's a best friend of Bruce Wayne from childhood, had a very similar origin to Bruce, but their lives went in different directions. And he ends up impersonating Bruce Wayne, going on like a killing spree. So it could be really interesting to see. Your opening sequence could be like Batman killing somebody or Bruce Wayne killing somebody, and you're like, what the hell? And then you realize that's actually Hush. Or you could see a moment where Batman is out doing something, and then all of a sudden he looks on the news and Bruce Wayne is doing a press conference, and he's like, no, I'm not. And he's trying to figure out, this imposter Bruce Wayne. You could see them doing something with that in regards to uh, taking Hush and making him more prominent within Bruce's life, and like really dragging out like the two sides of Batman and Bruce and who they each are.
Is Hush's real face supposed to look similar to Bruce?
Well, not his real face, but he gets like surgically altered to look like Bruce, right? So he's essentially indistinguishable from Bruce Wayne once the surgery is complete.
Because
So you would get two Pattinsons. I'm looking at Sinners. He maybe Matt Reeves watched Sinners and he was like, "Oh my God, we can see two Pattinsons interacting. An evil Pattinson fighting with good Pattinson." Maybe he rewatched Superman 3 before Superman. He did a Superman binge. He was like, two Christopher Reeves. That's pretty cool. We could do that too.
it's not going to happen, but I have thought in the last couple of years if they did Hush, what if they got one of the actors that auditioned for Batman previously?
That would be pretty fun.
Like, imagine that it won't happen now, but what if previously, if he wasn't cast in Superman, they'd gotten Nick Holt to play Hush? But I'm excited to. So it would be a different actor before he puts it on, but then it would be Pattinson once it is on.
Yeah, I would probably do, but we'll see if it's been Hush, how they would do it. Excuse me.
I think if anyone can pull off, we just saw him pull that off. We just saw him pull, so we know he's capable of that.
Yeah, he just did it. He probably saw Mickey 17.
And I think he did a really great job of it in Mickey 17, so I'm sure he could do that. And I'd love to see, if this was his final appearance, I'd love to see him get to do something like that. Like, imagine that's his final appearance as Batman, and he gets to really show us what he's capable of in that role.
It could be really fun. I think another very obvious option is the Court of Owls. That's been something people have been really begging to see ever since Scott Snyder wrote it in the New 52. One of the biggest stories of the New 52 launched Batman and hooked so many new readers, myself included, who had never really cared about Batman. And we heard about this Court of the Owls thing that was going on. And we were like, okay, I got to start picking these issues up because that sounds pretty cool. And then all of a sudden you're reading like the entirety of the New 52 so you can follow just the Court of the Owls. So I think there's a lot of nostalgia for that. They're definitely interested in, whether they'll say it or not, capturing nostalgia and getting names people recognize. So I think Court of Owls, they were in Gotham. People know them. They're very popular. People were even theorizing if they would be the villains in the first part. but they were not. I think you could tie it into the Penguin series as well. I believe the Penguin series had like an Easter egg to the Court of Owls. They showed like an owl curtain or something along those lines in the background. Tiny little owl reference, but it could be interesting. It's also timely themes about like, shady people trying to control people, what they can think, what they can say, all those kind of things. I also just wonder if it's just a little bit too similar to what the first part was doing, especially because to the point where people are even wondering if the Court of the Owls were going to show up at the end of the first movie. So I wonder if it might be just too repetitive. And when you talk about it tying really personally and deeply into Bruce Wayne's story, I don't really see that in the Court of Owls unless they try and bring in the Waynes, but they already brought in the Waynes in part one, so there's not a lot to really do there. So I'm not really a big fan of the Court of Owls in this movie. I love the Court of Owls, but in terms of likeliness, I think they're less likely compared to some other options.
If they're like manipulating what people see as the truth, that could be a mirror of Man of Tomorrow if it's Brainiac.
That's very true. I think the Court of Owls, if they are keeping Penguin alive, keeping this Catwoman show alive, that could be an interesting villain, like even like a shared villain between the Catwoman show and Penguin season 2, if they want to keep this universe alive somehow.
Yeah, we should also bring up that I believe it was last week. Jeff Snyder said on his and John Roca's show, The Hot Mic, that he has actually heard that a Catwoman show will happen.
And I think it would make sense.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And if Matt Reeves says that that Kristen Milioti is not in Batman 2, maybe they're continuing her story in the Catwoman show.
And if they do Court of Owls and Batman Part 2, I could see them leaving it somewhat unresolved so that it can be picked up by these TV shows. They're running with like remnants of the Owls or something along those lines.
I am a bit disappointed that she won't be in it because she was really good on that show, and I'd love to see her interact with Bruce Wayne.
We'll see. We'll see if she is. Yeah, even Matt Reeves literally said, "We'll see" after the end of that quote. So we will see.
And I'd honestly wouldn't mind if we just saw her interact with Bruce Wayne, maybe not with Batman. That's what we need more. We need more Bruce Wayne interacting with a lot of these interesting characters, not just Batman.
One of my favorite ideas for a villain is Mad Hatter. I don't know if that sounds too unrealistic for Matt Reeves, but I think it would be really interesting to see how he could take something as weird and as crazy as a Mad Hatter and make it work in his grounded world, right? Like if you were saying, oh, they're going to do a grounded Batman movie and they hadn't done the Riddler, I would probably be like, well, they're never going to do the Riddler because he's too crazy. But he found a way to take the concept of the Riddler and make him work in this totally new way. So I could be a big fan of seeing how he would take Mad Hatter and turn it into a grounded Matt Reeves Mad Hatter. How does he do magical hats that possess people in a grounded way? Is it technological? Is it like a VR thing? Is it, radicalization through social media or anything like that? Is it TV radicalization? I would be really curious to see how he could adapt something so fantastical into his grounded reality.
I guess you could just straight up just do like hallucinogens or something.
Mm-hmm. That would lean into the Alice in Wonderland kind of connection too, if he's drugging people, making them see visions.
Who could play him?
So many options. You got to have somebody with the manic energy, somebody who could really match Pattinson.
If you want someone Irish, it's too bad Colin Farrell is already in there.
That's true.
You could have dual performances. If the Penguin looks very different from him, you could still get him. Now, that's the kind of weird shit that I actually want comic book movies to try. Like, Colin Farrell is straight up the Penguin, but he's also Mad Hatter. And have them, like, straight up interacting multiple times. That's definitely not going to happen.
I'd love to see Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones, Littlefinger, play like an unhinged Mad Hatter. When you hear him talk outside of Game of Thrones, he has like a kind of high-pitched, almost like unhinged kind of voice to him. So it would be fun to hear him.
And he'd be returning because he was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Another big option, I think, is Hugo Strange. That's one that fans have been talking about quite a lot online. It would tie into Arkham, which is something that was set up a lot in the first movie, even with Bruce Wayne's mom. That could be a way to bring Bruce Wayne in personally in his past. And I also think it could be a fun way to have cameos, make him be the Riddler's psychiatrist or something like that. So you can have Paul Dano come back for a scene, or you can even have that be a way to bring in like side villains, have somebody like Big Mutant Monster or something like that, or Victor Zsasz be like one of his patients that he kind of turns against Batman, someone that he radicalizes, someone that he gets inside the mind of. You don't need to have magical hats if you can just be a really good manipulative doctor. You could lean into like the Robert Kennedy or almost like the Andrew Tate, like getting inside someone's head and telling them what the best version of them is, just to manipulate them.
Yeah, and I want to see him like terrorizing all of Batman's villains. Like, what does it look like when the Riddler gets terrorized in prison by someone like this? Who could you see playing him?
You throw out a name.
I feel like for that role, it's so open. Like, there's so many actors that could pull that off. I could see he might be too old, but I think Ben Kingsley could pull that off. But
I did not go Hugo Weaving. Hugo's in the name.
You're right. I heard Mahershala Ali thrown out by someone, and
that would be great.
That would be interesting. We'll see. I mean, if he's busy with, I don't.
Is he?
I don't know. He's got Jurassic World 9 maybe, but yeah, I think he'd probably be open to that. I mean, let's take a year or two off of Blade development, and I'll do this Batman thing. I could definitely see him pulling that off.
Another option is Deathstroke. That is a hugely fan favorite character. People love the look, and it's somebody who could actually like physically match Batman and fight him and outsmart him, and not like the Riddler who's kind of behind the scenes pushing Batman. Somebody could head to head like out punch Batman in a fight. And I think that could be something that really pushes Batman and Bruce Wayne to their limits. We had that line in The Dark Knight where Batman doesn't have limits, and then Alfred says, "Oh, Bruce Wayne does," or something like that. And I could see that being explored in the Batman part too. Like once Bruce Wayne is actually starting to like hurt himself and put himself on the verge of actual death, where does he end up giving up this Batman thing? Is there ever a line where he has to no longer do this anymore to keep Bruce Wayne alive? Can both of these people exist at the same time, or does one have to give up itself for the other? I could see that being something that just the true physical threat of Deathstroke could present.
And you could have that character exist in reality, like he's essentially a mercenary. A name that comes to me for him would be Josh Brolin. I don't know if that's too fitting, but
almost too good.
Yeah, that's almost too good. I mean, I think that performance would be like an all-timer Batman performance. That'd be an all-timer like villain performances, period. And I think with Warner Brothers coming straight off of Weapons, if they were doing Deathstroke in this movie, I would imagine you would at least be having a conversation with him.
Yeah, that's when you get into the question also, what was Matt Reeves saying when he said it was not really done in the movie before, because Deathstroke has been in movies before.
So that would fit with that phrase.
It would.
And
because he was in the post-credit scene for Justice League, but that was very unfulfilled. That was basically it. He was also the villain of Teen Titans Go to the Movies, if that counts. Animated movies might count, but in terms of live action, actual featured roles, he hasn't shown up.
I wonder if Woody Harrelson was the villain in his last Apes movies. If he wants to reuse actors like that, is there any Batman villains anywhere you could see Woody Harrelson fitting in Batman?
He would be great as Hugo Strange.
That's not bad. Yeah, and it would be incredibly ironic because he's a huge supporter of RFK Jr.
And I think you don't have to make Hugo Strange literally torturing people. He could be just kind of like getting in their heads. I could see
that's what I meant.
him kind of like whispering into someone's ear and kind of like saying the threatening thing without even really threatening somebody.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean like physically. I mean like that's what Hugo Strange does. Is he mentally tortures people. He subtly manipulates them, and Yeah, I think I mean he's kind of the ultimate rage baiter if you think about it, right? Like he'll tell them something and it's like, no, that wasn't meant to be like confrontational or anything, but it absolutely was.
Yeah, it could be interesting to get into how like the whole double speak thing. It's like you can say something that sounds nice on the surface, but it's getting into just that right little way to hit somebody in the wrong way. I would really like to see that casting. Anybody else you want to throw out, like villains you think might show up? Anybody that wasn't on my list you're hoping to see?
I mean, Mr. Freeze was one of those like early rumors before the maybe when he was in the early stages of writing it. I don't know how Mr. Freeze fits into a realistic world. How do you have a guy who has like a freeze gun? How do you make that realistic? I
I would
guess
love to
maybe
see Mr. Freeze, but I also feel like when he says hasn't really been done on film before, that like discounts literally like the main villain of previous movies. Like maybe not
yeah.
side characters, but Mr. Freeze was literally the main villain of a movie. So I think he's not showing up.
They're
I
probably
thought
want
of
to
him
save
until
that.
this quote. Like once he said this quote about not really done before, to me that was like, okay, it's not Mr. Freeze.
I think you should save Mr. Freeze for DCU Batman, or if Pattinson ends up being the DCU Batman, then after that, because that's a character you want to do that character right. You don't want to have him be some realistic version of Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, this is also something that we got to consider. Like, is James Gunn going to nix any villains that Matt Reeves
Yeah,
wants to use because he plans to use them? We know he wants to do Teen Titans. If you're going to do Teen Titans and you're going to do Nightwing, you're going to want to do Deathstroke. So does he say, okay, you're not doing Deathstroke because I want to do a Deathstroke? Or does he let him do Deathstroke that's just different enough to distinguish himself?
I think if I were James Gunn, I would just tell Matt Reeves, do Hush, do Court of Owls, do characters that I'm not in a rush to do, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
he can make those characters work.
You want to move on to the other superhero property that has some rumors heating up?
Oh, is there something else going on in the world of superheroes?
It never seems to stop, does it?
No, not really.
Superman 2. I'm going to call it that to the day I die. The sequel to Superman is coming out. It's called Man of Tomorrow. James Gunn posted a not so cryptic teaser on X or no Threads, whatever he posted it on. One of the medias. It was a picture of the cover of the Superman 2 script, and it had a picture of a brain, the inside of a human brain, and it said Man of Tomorrow, Draft 2, I believe it was. Do you think he's teasing Brainiac, or is that way too obvious to literally have a human brain on the cover?
Yeah,
Is he just misleading us at this point?
he's either just straight up giving it away or he's trying to mislead us. I mean, there's an irony in trying to mislead us there, right? The
Yeah, it
character.
is Brainiac. It would be funny to
Yeah.
see if he was trying to mislead us.
So maybe he's purposely doing this to be like, is it Brainiac? Is it not Brainiac? Maybe it's Brainiac with a twist. I'd
Yeah, it's
imagine.
strange that he's been heating up Peacemaker as like, oh, it's going to be the thing that sets up Superman. And I would be kind of disappointed if the big reveal of Peacemaker is that it is, in fact, Brainiac. And the way we found out was because James Gunn posted a picture of a brain online a couple of days before, right? I would have liked to find that out in Peacemaker. And the fact that not just Peacemaker is leaning into it, but also this post is leaning into it, it feels like they really want us to think it's Brainiac to the point where I'm starting to think it's not Brainiac. You know, when we watched the first episode or 2 or 3 of Peacemaker, I was like, oh, it's definitely Brainiac. But now
Why
that
would
they're
he give it
trying to
away
make
like
us think it's
this?
Brainiac, I'm not so sure.
Why would he give it away like this? Like, would he do that?
The only way he does that if we're about to find out, right? Like if this gets revealed in episode 6 of Peacemaker, maybe this is like your stage 2 reveal, and then that's your stage 3 of, oh, it's actually Brainiac.
It'd be pretty interesting to introduce a villain like that for Superman in a TV show. Like, yes, it's a big TV show with John Cena and everything, but like it still is a TV show, and that would be interesting. And I'd be curious to see how that inspires like and influences like Marvel and stuff. Will we actually see Marvel? I mean, they tried to do it with Kang, but they didn't. Kang wasn't like, well, no, Kang was introduced in a TV show, but then they didn't go through with that. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how this plays out. I'm curious if Brainiac is in Peacemaker, how soon he shows up. Like, does he show up in episode 6, episode 7? I'm very curious. I'm not sure how to feel about it. I really hope he didn't just give this away.
It would be a really weird decision if he gave this away, but we will see. We'll find out most likely by the end of Peacemaker season 2 at this rate, but
Yeah.
at least sooner than later. Once people start getting cast and production starts to begin, before you know it, on the Superman movie, we're going to find out who the villain is. They're not going to be able to hide that forever. Someone's going to be cast as somebody in this movie. They're going
Yeah.
to have to start adding people to this list.
Yeah, I was about to mention both this and Batman 2 filming on the same time. We will be probably hearing casting news around both movies around the same time.
It's going to be great to see all of these in production at once. It really does feel like, between this and we'll talk in a second about the Doomsday stuff, it feels like there's a final push to make superhero movies stay alive, whether it's between DC or it's Marvel. Both studios are going full on pushing for these next 2 years to say, please come back, and we'll see if it happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, let's move on to Doomsday unless you have more about Superman you want to talk about.
No, we can definitely move on to that bag.
The bag. The biggest, the bag seen around the world, and it's not about what color it is. It's about, what the Avengers ticket, the Avengers characters are on there. Avengers Doomsday has wrapped filming, and once filming is wrapped, crew receive a bunch of gifts, and somebody among the crew members posted the gifts, which was a tote bag that had several members of the Avengers Doomsday cast, art of them in what might be their costumes from the movie. It's nobody new. It's everybody who was essentially on those chairs in the first chair reveal. But it is interesting to get what might be costume reveals for several characters. All the X-Men seem to be in as near as they can be to their original iconic classic outfits. Cyclops has, the cross of yellow and the whole red banner, and everything seems to be perfectly out of the comics, yellow spandex and all, at least for the X-Men. Fantastic Four costumes are pretty much the same, but they threw some little jackets on top of them that I think look pretty cool. I hope we see them in the movie. Look nice and stylish. Thor has a new look. His hair is short again. He has like a black kind of like more serious costume look going on. Outside of that, the core MCU characters basically seem to be the same. Did you have any thoughts on this bag? Any thoughts on them seemingly going back to the original look of these characters, or at least the classic look?
Yeah, the first thing I noticed with that bag was Cyclops. That was the thing that stood out to me because in terms of costumes, between Wolverine and Cyclops is probably the most noticeable, like, comic booky costume. Like, that really looks like this from a comic book, and people complained with those X-Men movies for so long that they're just wearing these suits. I want to see more of these comic book costumes, and we're finally getting it, and I think this is going to please a lot of those hardcore fans, finally getting to see it. I don't know how to feel about finding out about it from a bag from the set, but it was inevitable that something like this was going to happen for this movie, right? Something was going to come out. Someone was going to post something, and I could see that this was intentional. I could see that Kevin Feige was like, let's have someone accidentally post this. Like, he admitted that for No Way Home, they planted fake rumors out there. So maybe they are doing the same thing for this.
Yeah, I wonder because there is no reveal here, right? Like, I guess the looks are revealed, but there's no new characters. Yeah. There's nothing like, oh man, that should not have been out,
It's not a reveal, but it's a reveal that a confirmation, basically, that we are going to see those classic comic book costumes. I like the look of Doom based on this. Like, that's a solid costume, and I think that the jackets, that's an interesting touch, like, to change it from the movie and make it a little different for this. I think Sentry is interesting because that also looks very comic booky.
It's notable, I think, that Professor X has the silver wheelchair rather than the big yellow animated series style wheelchair that we saw in like Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. So this is a different version of the character. They're not going for that look.
No, this is not. Whether it's literally the same one from the movies, it is at least a version of that for But
do you think this confirms that there is no more Doomsday cast reveal to happen? Like, there's going to be more cast. There's probably going to be other characters for smaller
But this
roles,
is the
but do you
core.
think this is the core cast?
Yeah, I think probably the core. I'm a little bit wondering if Star-Lord would just be in Secret Wars, because he was in that original concept art for Doomsday. But the questionable thing about that concept art, as you remember, is that was Battleworld, and in the comic books, Battleworld is in Secret Wars. So I wonder if that concept art was actually just like placeholder for Doomsday, but it was really for Secret Wars.
I
Uh,
also wonder if that was one of those previously mentioned fake leaks that was put out
yeah,
because it almost seemed too good to be true.
it could be. You also might want to save. You don't want to have everyone in this movie, right? Like you have to save some people.
Yeah, some
Maybe
people might just have like two scenes, in this movie. Like, does
towards the
Star
end,
Lord have
yeah.
to have a major role, or does he just have to show up for a couple of scenes doing something in his hometown or whatever, and then he's more prominent in some future story?
Sorry, but I have to ask, who is in the top right? The blue person, is that
That's Beast. You can see the
okay? Okay, that
bottom
is
right of his
base.
body.
I was about to ask, why did they have to cover up Frazier, man?
God,
Come
and they
on,
covered up Magneto. I wanted to see that Magneto helmet.
jeez.
Show me what his helmet looks like. Ah, that was so perfectly placed by this taker.
See,
I was like,
see,
what the heck?
see that's another thing that makes me think this wasn't intentional. Like Kevin Feige had made someone do this, because like to me that's intentional teasing. That comes off as intentional teasing. Like if some person just posted this, like I guess they could have covered it, but that to me makes sound like Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. He's if he did this, he'd be doing this to get us all hyped. And what is this doing?
Got
This
us
is
all hyped.
yeah. So yeah, all I have to say about this is really that it's cool that they're doing those costumes. I'm really excited. I'm
Do you think
now
Kevin Feige was like, they're talking too much about Jimmy Kimmel? Leak something. Put something out there. Post the bag right now. They can't be talking about Kimmel anymore.
imagine they bring the leaker on Kimmel tomorrow night to apologize.
This was Jimmy Kimmel's one caveat. I'll come back, but you got to leak the Doomsday bag.
And Gambit is on. What a wild like. Can you, I just think, take a moment to think about it. This is actually like this is the amount of this. These are the characters of you be an Avengers Doomsday.
Red Guardian sitting next to Professor X.
Red Guardian. Can you? I cannot believe we're gonna get Red Guardian talking to like Frazier. Like what? Like Thor talking to Cyclops. I mean,
we will see Cyclops and Ant-Man interact.
oh my God! Can you? The
We might be back.
conversations. It's gonna be it's gonna be incredible. Anything else to say about this?
Alan Cumming mentioned in an interview that, oh, I was just kidding. The script was finished.
That's hilarious because people are overreacting so badly about this. Like, oh no, how dare they? I'm like, they've done this before. And those movies were great. So,
Yeah, and when you have a cast like this, like unfinished is, a state of mind. Like they're probably like throwing out dialogue here and there because they're like, oh, it would be so funny if we did this scene this way and this scene that way.
Did he really say? Did he really say? Just kidding. There is a finished script.
Well, he didn't say, I say just kidding, but he had an interview and he said, yeah, it was actually finished. It was finished. I just said that as because it was a joke.
Okay, so I guess we can move on to our next story. Which is
let's talk about Tom Holland really quickly while we're in Doomsday Land. There was a bad headline the other night saying Tom Holland had been rushed to the hospital after an injury on set, and it was an injury on set. I'm definitely happy he was rushed to the hospital and he was taken care of, and he seems to be okay. But yeah, it seemed like maybe the headline may have been a little inflammatory. They wanted to say how he was rushed to the hospital after an accident. The set's going to be delayed for weeks and weeks, and you start, oh my God, Disney is truly cursed. They're not having a good week, are they? And then you find out, yeah, he was injured, and it is not good. I feel for him being injured, but he seems to be all right.
Yeah, not much to talk about here. Just it is interesting that like the day after that he went to an event with Zendaya and spoke briefly there. So he's just a guy who's like, I gotta get to work. He takes this very seriously. I mean, obviously take care of yourself, and if you're not feeling up to go into something, don't go into something. But yeah, I'm glad he's okay. It's obviously more important that he's okay than when can they start filming again.
Yeah, I'm glad he was not injured. It's been a rough week for so many people. We don't want more bad news. That would not be a good thing. Speaking of good news, though, brief Walking Dead headline for you. Give you a little more will to live for a second. There was an interview with Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead, recently returned for The Ones Who Live, and his future in The Walking Dead has been kind of up in the air. But he was being interviewed on the BBC in regards to a play he's doing, and they mentioned, "Oh, are you going to come back to The Walking Dead? Is that something that's going to happen?" And Andrew Lincoln gave a very short, but very kind of direct answer and said, well, let's get the actual quote right here. He said, "The conversation is happening. There are conversations happening." So, or maybe that conversation is happening. Right? He's very specific, saying that conversation is happening. So, what do you think, Ari? You're the biggest Walking Dead fan. So, how do you feel about potential return of Rick Grimes?
I was getting concerned that was going to be in, because like for that show and the story it tells, it works for that being the end, I guess. But like we still have these other spinoffs. Like we have Daryl going on, and Daryl's like the whole point of that show is, oh, we're in France now, we're in Spain, we got to get home. And I'm like, well, when he gets home, I got to see that reunion. So I'm pretty relieved to hear this news and hear that conversations are at least happening. I'm not sure like how or why AMC would like fund another show. I'm thinking like maybe it really is the best for them to go to Netflix. Netflix loves to waste money. I mean, imagine if this goes to Netflix. If you think it's cool seeing these spinoffs now with the massive budgets, imagine if it goes to Netflix and they actually get like a huge budget. That to me was what would be most interesting about that. But yeah, I'm really relieved with this news. I'm curious like what this would be. Like, would it be a full-on bringing The Walking Dead back? Would it be more of a continuation, just Rick and Michonne? I'd imagine if you're bringing it back, you just have to do The Walking Dead.
And yeah, if I wasn't ahead of them, you've got to stop with these spinoffs, and you just got to do another Walking Dead show. But I am excited for the Walking Dead fans. I'm sure all 12 of them are really ecstatic about this news.
No, well, you're one of us.
I was. I'm recovering.
You will be. You will be.
There's also a Wicked trailer dropping tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
If you've had enough of that first trailer, you can finally have a second one. It's going to be a lot longer, I'm sure. Going to show us some of the iconic Wizard of Oz moments. Speaking of iconic Wizard of Oz moments, there was a cover story on Empire Magazine in regards to this trailer coming out, and we're going to start seeing a lot of marketing around this movie. But they were asked about Dorothy and whether or not she'll be in the movie a lot, who might even play her. And Cynthia Erivo's response said that Dorothy was going to be there, but in a way that allows viewers to keep the Dorothy they know. So probably shots from far away, shots from behind, shots that don't see the face. So you can kind of project the book Dorothy, the movie Dorothy. Maybe you're a huge fan of Return to Oz. You've got to project that Dorothy on here. But it is interesting because Jeff Snyder reported a while ago that Alicia Weir from Abigail was going to be playing Dorothy, but he also in that report said maybe it's not a huge role. Like, to me, that's not a big name actress necessarily. That's somebody you get for your, like, we got to get somebody you can just fill in Dorothy and have some shots that look like Dorothy, but not be like the star of the movie.
And in the trailer, like, you see her, but you see her from behind, like from the side, and like you see the line, but you don't see her face. So maybe that's how it'll be throughout the movie. Just like she's there, but she's not really like a real character.
Because she's not super present through the second act of Wicked, and it seems to me from the trailer she's going to be more present in this than she was in the second act of Wicked. So I think that's a good decision. It looks like this last half of the movie is going to really lean into the Wizard of Oz connections and almost be like a Back to the Future 2 kind of like parallel to Wizard of Oz. I'm really excited to see them really lean in to the connections to the movie, because when the play came out, they didn't own the rights to the film, so they couldn't really directly reference, the ruby slippers and all of that kind of stuff. So they probably will be able to do a lot more in this in terms of actually showing scenes and showing iconography from Wizard of Oz. What else do we got? Are you excited for the trailer? I know you were a big fan of the first one.
Trailer. I, for some reason, I'm still not tired of seeing that first trailer a million times. If a trailer is great, man, sometimes I just won't get sick of it, like ever. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if it'll. That first trailer made me cry, man. So we'll see what this trailer does. But I don't really know much about the second act of Wicked. I have not seen the play, so I'm curious. I'm really excited for this movie. This is probably one of my most anticipated of the rest of the year. And November, December, it's going to be packed, man.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. And our friend of the channel, who's on videos quite often with us, Andrew, he hasn't shown up in a little while. We just haven't been able to work out scheduling with him, but he's going to be doing a reaction video to Wicked tomorrow. So if you miss Andrew, we all miss Andrew. His bright and positive face will be smiling, I'm sure, widely tomorrow watching Wicked Part 2. He's ecstatically excited. He adored the first Wicked. He's melting down ready for this trailer, I'm sure. So if you can sleep at all tonight, I'm sure he'll be dreaming of Wicked. But yeah, join us tomorrow for Andrew's reaction video to Wicked. And I'm sure next week we'll be talking about our thoughts on the trailer because I'm looking forward to it for sure.
You'll be able to, in theaters, do a Knives Out 3 Wicked Part 2 double feature.
That could be fun.
Yeah, that could be fun. You want to move on to our next topic or anything else to add?
I think we've covered it. We've got some quick topics here. Let's talk about the box office really quickly. The Jordan Peele produced Him has not come to fruition. This movie is not quite totally failing on its face, but it is not going to make its money back. And it's unfortunate because it has Jordan Peele's name behind it, and he was really looking forward to this coming out. Candyman was the last movie this studio produced without him as director, and I thought that was really good and a big surprise, despite kind of mixed reviews, I guess, but this has very, very bad reviews, and it manifested in very, very bad box office, especially in the wake of Conjuring. It seems like people are just going to see that instead. But yeah, did you see Him, or what did you think of this box office?
No, I did not say it, but it opened lower than I thought. During the weekend they were saying it was going to get to 15. It only got to 13.5.
That is very bad.
But here's the crazy thing. If Jordan Peele wasn't attached to this, I think it would have made even less.
That's true.
That bad number is with Jordan Peele attached as producer. If he wasn't, this would have done even worse. To me, and then A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey also flopped, which is not a surprise, really. That movie was just it looks like something from another time, I don't think audiences have a really interest in something like that right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it because it seems like it's something I will really like, but I'm not surprised that general audiences are not up for something like that.
Yeah, but to me, Him is very sad because Jordan Peele is trying to lift up other voices that might not get attention otherwise, and ended up biting him in the back. I mean, not everyone's going to make a great movie, but it's unfortunate that this did not end up. And I don't think it's going to, tarnish his career necessarily, but that's not good. So
yeah, I hope it doesn't discourage him or discourage studios from being interested in this kind of stuff, because it's one failure, and I don't want that to reflect poorly on Jordan Peele's whole career. And it sometimes feels like black filmmakers or filmmakers from any kind of minority group, they only really seem to get one failure, right? Like you make one bad movie and all of a sudden your whole career is gone. When then all of a sudden a white filmmaker can make 5 failures in a row and somehow you're still getting another one. I hope that doesn't happen here for Jordan Peele, because I would love to see him keep doing what he's doing and elevating new voices to make films at a scale they wouldn't be able to make them. And it's also interesting this happens in the wake of his film being delayed off of the schedule. I wonder if he's just kind of in a panic mode.
I don't know, but
Let's move on to some better news. Bob Odenkirk's Normal is being picked up by Magnolia. It's going to be a giant release next year, the widest release in the history of Magnolia Studios. It's going to be an action movie with Bob Odenkirk. It premiered at TIFF, didn't it? So it has been seen. You can go and see reviews. Do you know if people liked it?
I don't, but to me, what is interesting and notable about this is that the movie was written by the writer of John Wick Chapter 2 and John Wick Chapter 3, and nobody. So my question is, do we think is Bob Odenkirk's career headed in this direction of just doing a bunch of like action movies? I'm curious because Nobody 2 did not perform well. The first one was a reasonable hit, but the second one did not perform well. So I'm curious to see if his career is headed in a good direction. It's got a really good cast. Henry Winkler is going to be in something again finally.
Yeah, I want to read the red line here from I'm reading Hollywood Reporter. They said it was a neo-western about an interim sheriff played by Odenkirk who senses something is amiss about a small Minnesota town. It also stars Henry Winkler and Lena Headey from Game of Thrones. So you do have a good cast in there. And Hollywood Reporter is really positive on it. Variety is really positive on it. So it looks like this might be something that was at least really well liked in the festival crowd. So they call it extremely excessive and just kind of like a big blast of fun. So I'm really excited to see how he pulls that off.
This name looked familiar because the actress who is playing the new Carrie is in this movie.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'd love to see how that goes.
Yeah, Summer H. Howell.
I'm excited for Ben Wheatley too because he needs a good movie. He hasn't really had like a good one in a bit. He did Meg 2. That was certainly not a hit. I liked In the Earth, actually. That was not that bad, but it was not super acclaimed. Really, since Free Fire has he had like a pretty good, like well-regarded movie, and even that was not like a giant hit in any regard. But yeah, he needs something like this that can actually be a banger.
Are they just going to, at some point, have one of these movies cross over with John Wick?
I would really like to see that, but I think they need to be careful with not using the John Wick franchise too much. You know, they can't just stick everybody in there.
Yeah.
Clearly, it did not really pay off with Ballerina, right? Like, that didn't make its money. It didn't really, like, rack in the dough or anything like that. So maybe there's just not a lot of hunger for spinoffs from that at all.
Unless, I think people just really want John Wick.
But what I'm excited for about this is that it doesn't seem like John Wick, right? It seems like it's much different. The character is a lot different. The setting is a lot different. The story is a lot different. They're not just doing action guy shoots a bunch of people. That's why these John Wick ripoffs to me have not been very interesting because they're just John Wick ripoffs, right? They're not doing something else. This is a new setting, a new location, new characters is doing John Wick kind of action, but that makes it feel really, really fresh and helps it stand out from, like you said, Nobody 2 just came out, and this feels way different than that.
Yeah.
I want to quickly mention the Barbed Wire remake. My dreams have come true, Ari. Pamela Anderson's Barbed Wire is getting the remake it finally deserves. Let's revive Barbed Wire. I've always felt like Barbed Wire has been sitting there ready to become a cult classic, ready to be the next midnight movie, ready to have festival crowds cheering and laughing for all of the campy dialogue and every single scene having something ridiculous happening somewhere in the scene. I love Barbed Wire, and it's coming back, Ari. Have you seen Barbed Wire? Have you even heard of Barbed Wire at all?
No, I don't know what it is, but you got to mention that she's doing this with the help of her sons.
That's very interesting.
Her son's production company, I guess, is going to be working with her on this. Do you think Liam Neeson will have a role in this?
It very well could. I think it would be fun. It's fun that her son's production company is doing it. It makes me feel like it's going to have that extremely low budget, just like schlock version of a movie, same as the original. Tamara Morrison's in the original, so if you want to see Boba Fett himself in a role that is not Star Wars, you can see that. One of the only times I've seen him in something that was not Star Wars.
If you want to see Boba Fett in something that is good.
I don't know if this is good. I mean, it's fun though. It's fun though. I definitely recommend checking out Barbed Wire if you're someone who loves to, watch schlocky trash. And I wonder if this sequel or remake or whatever is going to be equally schlocky and equally trashy, or if they're going to try and do something a little more serious with it. Is Pamela going to be in it? She's said she's back. Is she going to be in the
Maybe
movie back?
maybe she can play the Wire.
She'll play the Barb.
Yeah, she'll play the Barb and Liam will play the Wire.
I wish I had prepared with a bunch of barbed wire quotes to end this segment on, but I did not look up any. But look up on your own time, because there's some great ones out there. I don't want to spoil all of the goodness of barbed wire, so check that one out. Grave Encounters is also coming back. All right, have you seen Grave Encounters? Do you know what Grave Encounters is?
I actually don't know. I actually don't know what this is.
You're breaking my heart, Ari. All of my childhood is coming back. Grave Encounters was a found footage film in the 2000s. It was not great, I will say. One of the many like found footage films of that era, but it followed a ghost hunting crew who does like these dumb kind of paranormal fake shows where they go to haunted houses and act really scared and nothing's really going on. But then they go to one where something is really going on, and all of these kind of out of their wits reality show host guys have to face actual demons and actual monsters, and they're not prepared for that. But Justin Long was attached to this remake. I really think he'd be an awesome lead for something like this. I could see him being a totally out of element, like dumb vlogger or like a live streamer, I show speed type of character going into like a haunted house, and then there's actual demons. I'm really excited for this. But any thoughts from you, Ari, on a paranormal, what probably is going to be a live streamer or something like that, going into a haunted house and facing actual monsters?
So that's what it is. A live streamer going into a haunted house and facing like actual nightmares.
Well, that's what I'm assuming it's going to be about, because the original one is about like a documentary crew, like the Baggins crew and stuff like that, going into a house, and then there's actual demons. I feel like the perfect way to modernize that is a live streamer, a Twitch streamer or something like that, a true crime YouTuber going into a house and figuring out, oh my god, there's actual ghosts.
Wait, Bilbo Baggins? No, I'm kidding. I know Zach Baggins is. I know what that is. But yeah, I imagine Justin Long playing that lead and like a 40-year-old guy. So that would make it really fun, honestly. Justin Long, it seems like he's just becoming a horror actor now. Like,
yeah, he's found himself a new little niche.
That's his thing. But yeah, I don't really have a ton of thoughts on this because
I'm looking forward to it though. What else do we got to talk about here? The Mad Max Wasteland. You're a huge Mad Max fan.
According to a new rumor, Mad Max might not be dead. George Miller's Mad Max: The Wasteland is now being reworked, actually happening, supposedly reworked as a show. And according to Mad Max Bible, it is not being made specifically as a show for HBO, just for someone in general. We'll see what happens. But this is honestly shocking news, because after the financial failure of Furiosa, nobody wants to see. But unfortunately, it is a downgrade, but I do think there is at least a chance that a Mad Max show could find an audience as a show. Like, if they do a big budget, like HBO show, that could actually be successful.
I'm of the mindset that this show does not ever come to fruition. He's writing it. It's totally going to develop, but I don't think this is happening. Like, the reason it's not showing up at HBO Max is because HBO Max probably didn't want to do this show. Like, they probably saw the money at Furiosa, and they were like, yeah, we're not doing that. So, it's being developed as a TV show. To me, that's because nobody wanted to make it as a movie. So you're trying to make it as a TV show. And the fact that it's not an HBO Max show, it's just a show that's going to get made and going to get shopped around. Like, I just feel like this doesn't happen. There's not any money to be made in the Mad Max franchise, unfortunately. I love the Mad Max movies, but it just doesn't seem like there's money there. And a TV show could be really good, but I just don't the fact that it is being such a pivot from the movie and the fact that HBO is not seemingly interested, to me just spells that this is not even going to happen at all, unfortunately.
What's the point of writing it if there's no chance of it getting made?
Because you want it to get made, right? You write it and you try and shop it around, you try and get a studio to pick it up, and you hope that it happens. But I don't know, as a studio, why you would necessarily financially be motivated to pick this up. It will probably be great, so you might just pick it up for the prestige of it, right? You want to get a really big filmmaker on your good graces, so maybe Netflix just says, "Oh, here's the money," or Apple says, "Oh, here's the money," or even HBO Max says, "Oh, you know what? We will buy it. Here's the money." But I just don't know how this works. Like George Miller doesn't seem to be a big moneymaker at this point, so that doesn't seem to be how Hollywood's working. They're not making investments in money losers anymore. And I hate to say it, but George Miller seems to be in the money loser camp right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it'll happen, but I can cross my fingers. I can hold out hope, but it does not seem particularly likely. I see. I was shocked to hear that they were even like that there was even a chance that it was going to happen.
I hope it does, because I would love to see this. The world of Mad Max is so vast and so rich with lore and history and so much great influence when you look at some of the stuff that was an influence upon Mad Max. And I would love to see them go and explore that a lot more. So I hope it's real, because I love that world and I love seeing it. I hope it happens. I think the only thing we haven't talked about is this Taylor Swift news. Not really huge news, at least for us. But I do like Taylor Swift. She's getting an album release in theaters. It was an AMC partnership, but it looks like it's happening at some other theaters, but not all of the chains.
Yeah,
Huge release, though. The AMC app had a hard time working that day. I got signed out a couple of times. I kept having to sit in the queue when I was trying to get tickets for other movies, and I was sitting here trying to wait for the Swifties to get all of their tickets. But
it's happening at AMC Marcus, and an independent theater here is playing it. So I guess it's just not playing everywhere.
Yeah, it's originally announced as an AMC partnership, but I don't know if that's true, because it is showing at Marcus and other theaters.
So I don't know. But
Are you going to see this at all? Do you have any interest? Because I did go see the world tour, and it was very, very cool. If this was going to be a concert, I would go, but it seems like it's just going to be essentially like a glorified listening party. Like you're going to have like lyric videos and Taylor Swift talking about the songs in between or something like that. But it's not going to be like a live performance. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, if it was a concert movie, I might go.
Yeah, because I loved when she had the Eras Tour concert. It was like going to an actual concert. My theater was packed full of people, and I'm sure the theaters for this are going to be packed full of people, but are you going to be disappointed? If you go there as a fan who saw the Eras Tour and it was one of the coolest things you've seen, it was like the stop making sense of the 21st century, and you're expecting this to be that, and then you're just watching YouTube lyric videos with a bunch of fans, are you going to literally like go home? Like, especially if you've already seen or if you already heard the album, are you going to sit there and listen to it? I don't know. Fans will do a lot for the people that they're fans of, but if I were going to release this as Taylor Swift, I would actually want to do something in terms of making it a performance. When you look at when she released Folklore and she had that thing on Disney Plus that was like the small scale acoustic, her and the producers talking about the songs and playing the songs, and it was really, really a great part of the Folklore era and brought a lot out of that era for me. So this could be that, but it sounds to me like it's going to be really low scale kind of lyric videos, and I'm not going to pay money to go sit in a crowd and watch YouTube videos with people.
There's a couple more things we can mention. First, I wanted to do we had a correction to do.
Oh, that's right. We wanted to mention that last week.
Yeah.
I talked about this interview where someone involved in the music side of K-pop Demon Hunters seemingly had mentioned that they used ChatGPT for the song Soda Pop, but it sounds like that was a misquote in the interview or some kind of mistranslation. And he said he used it for inspiration to kind of get ideas for the song, but not in the actual song. And I think that is an important distinction, right? Because using it just for the idea of what something should maybe sound like, sure, that's using ChatGPT, and you can criticize that if you want to. If you're an absolutist or something along those lines, you can criticize that. And I understand that if you want to, right? That's a respectable position. Like, you should not use ChatGPT at all in any creative process. But when you're just sitting around trying to listen to cool sounds or something like that, or find any level of inspiration, I don't really see a problem myself with using ChatGPT in that scale of the production. But what do you think, Ari? Do you have like a hard no ChatGPT rule around this stuff? I could see it either way.
I would say maybe don't use ChatGPT when you're writing a song. I mean, if you have like if you're just gonna use it as a tool to like ask it questions about something, sure, but not to actually have you write a song. But there's a couple other stuff to mention real quick. John Hamm is doing a new TV show. It's called American Hostage, and Giovanni Ribisi from Avatar is going to star opposite him. Excited to see John Hamm do another show. I love John Hamm.
It seems like his best work has been on TV, so I'm excited for that. I hope he's back to form because he's been like on a miss streak on the other side.
The new SpongeBob movie is going to have a world premiere at AFI Fest. Bizarre to have that. And it's
crazy.
Festival. But I know you wanted to talk about this. I can't let us forget about this. Is that the paper is getting an NBC run under NBCU windowing strategy as the Office offshoot, and Stumble joins the fall schedule.
Yeah, that's very interesting that they're going to be showing the paper on NBC. I've been always craving for these streaming platforms who are like, how do we make more money off of these shows we're making? I don't know. How do we get more eyes on these? What do we do? They've been like lost. Why is nobody watching Mandalorian? You own multiple TV channels that get lots and lots of viewership from, people across the country. A lot of people outside of your demographic who might not even know what Disney Plus is. Show them The Mandalorian on ABC or on FX. What do you do when you're sitting here just not showing it?
Because there's a lot of older people who don't watch streaming and actually watch TV. Get those people's attention.
Yeah, something like the paper feels like you turn on TV and you're watching an episode of the paper and you're like, oh, this is pretty funny, and you get hooked, just like you did for The Office.
There are older men who aren't in touch with streaming who are Star Wars fans who, if they see, oh, there's a Star Wars show? Andor? What is this? Oh, I should check this out. And you'd be surprised the amount of older people who just don't have any streaming services at all. And
I think part of the problem with this is that a lot of streaming shows are not super like serialized like that. You couldn't just air an episode of a lot of these shows on TV. You can't just show like a random Stranger Things episode on TV. You're not going to know what's going on, right? That is what differentiates a lot of these shows from old shows. What do you say?
It could get your interest and get you to watch the show, though.
It could, but I think that might be what's hesitating people from, like, if you're a TV channel, why would you necessarily want to get a show that airs like that? You can't air them out of order. You can't just air one at a time slot. You want a TV show that's a little bit more versatile. And I just think the streaming era has not given us that. And I wish they would. It's not just for this reason, but just because I would prefer that over what we are getting. But yeah, I think this is a really big deal. I hope it does well because I would love to see other streamers do this thing. This is the future if you want to keep streaming originals alive. It's releasing it in theaters. It's releasing it on TV. It's releasing it on digital. It's releasing it physically. It's making as much money as you can possibly make off this investment. It does not make sense to invest millions upon millions of dollars into a show and then only release it through one platform. You have a lot of options to make more money off of this thing. So make more money off of this thing, or you're going to be canceling stuff left and right like you're already doing.
We have a first trailer for the new Anaconda film starring Jack Black, Paul Rudd, and Danielle Melchior from the Suicide Squad. I did not get a chance to watch this trailer. Do you have any thoughts on this trailer?
I'm really looking forward to it. It's a great hook. The idea that these two Anaconda fanboys go out to make their own version of Anaconda, thinking it's going to be fun in the jungle, making a movie, and then they get attacked by an actual Anaconda, and they have to live out their action movie fantasies. The stuff that they learned from the movies that they thought was going to help them does not help them, immediately fails them. It'll be a fun watch. I like that Jack Black is playing an animal in the movie Anaconda, like he's playing like a hog, and he's walking around in like a Jar Jar Binks style, like fake hog costume. I want to see him doing like a hog voice or something like that, oinking at them or something like. It'll be very fun.
And this is going to be the ultimate 4DX movie, right?
Yeah, it's going to be. Oh, I love to see it in 4DX. They've got to do something crazy with it.
We're definitely seeing it all in 4DX. Are you kidding me? I'm disappointed I did not watch this trailer. I'm actually very, very.
It looks really good.
And then Tim Robinson has a new show coming out on HBO Max on October 12th called The Chair Company. We had a trailer for this. What did you think about this trailer?
I thought this looked great. It reminded me a lot of Friendship, where it has that funny, awkward humor, but it also has like, what the hell is going on here? And as they start getting deep into this chair company conspiracy and where do the chairs come from, I can't wait to see how surreal he gets. When you watch Friendship, it's so obvious that he has the David Lynch influence in him, and I want to see him lean into the surreal even more, lean into those tonal swishes and stuff like that. I think he should leave as very funny, but just because of the nature of the show, it doesn't allow him to like do long scale mysteries or anything along that line. So I'm really excited to see how he pulls this off and how he pulls like those tonal swings. And is it as funny as this trailer? Is it as funny as I think he should leave? What is this show going to actually be about? Right, that's my biggest question.
What I liked about Friendship is how it pushed how awkward can we make this, like how, and you thought you were into the movie and understood what it was, and then it pulls something absolutely insane and puts it in front of you. You're like, I don't know what to even make of this. So I'm definitely looking forward, and I think it balances that. Like, yeah, it's a comedy, but this is like telling a story. Like, it's also not a comedy. And
yeah, I like this concept of like, what if the weirdest, craziest guy you knew accidentally was right about something? Like what if he wandered upon an actual conspiracy? What if like a conspiracy theorist, basement dwelling, tinfoil hat guy, just like happened to find out something true? Would that just like break his brain completely? And like, how would you believe him if he was trying to tell you something that just sounded completely beyond reality? I'm really curious to see what the show has to say. Is it about like corporate structures? Is it about like the dehumanization of these big, huge corporate jobs? Like, is it going to be, oh, he's trying to uncover this conspiracy and nobody along this corporate chain really cares, or if it wants to do anything because it'll break their spot in the corporate chain, right? I really wonder if he's going to have something to say rather than just, it's funny, it's crazy what's going on here. I think he's going to probably go for some level of like sci-fi commentary, right? So it'll be fun to see where he goes with it.
yeah, and we do have a few other. We can just do quick stories. Lionsgate had some layoffs. They're going to trim overall staff by 50.
Boo.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate news. Very unfortunate. This is maybe the worst thing that happens in Hollywood is these companies is like, oh yeah, we're going to do all these layoffs, cut these people that have been working here for like 70 years. And it's
We're going to see more of it as we see more mergers happening.
Angry Birds Movie 3 added Mr. Beast to the cast.
Just move on. Next story.
Okay. Tim Robinson is in it, though.
Okay, maybe I'm back.
I'm actually going to... Bill Hader and Tim Robinson potentially in an animated movie together. Maybe in a movie peak. Kenan Thompson's AFA is developing a reimagining of Sleepaway Camp.
I'm really curious about this. Sleepaway Camp has such an infamously not timely ending. I don't want to say what it is, but it is also kind of timely. Like, it deals with such a specific theme that I feel like they could take that and modernize it really, really well. Yeah, the horror is back, so this could be great.
Natasha Lyonne and Matt Berry are developing a retro comedy adventure series called Force and Majeure. Curious what this will be. I really like Natasha Lyonne and I really like Matt Berry. I think he's really funny and really talented. So I'm curious what that is. And then this is definitely.
Will she use ChatGPT for that?
Yeah, I did.
I think she will.
Yeah, she will. She loves AI. But Daredevil Born Again has been renewed for a third season at Disney Plus.
Very cool. I liked the first season a lot.
I did. I'm curious, will this be a thing where when this storyline ends, the show will end, but then start a new Daredevil? Seems like maybe not. It seems like maybe this is just the Daredevil show and it'll stay called this. Which
I'm happy Disney is finally renewing some shows, man. What are we doing?
Yeah, this has not happened. I think this is definitely the first out of the Marvel shows to get, which is insane and unbelievable. Like, Miss Marvel should be in like season 3 right now.
Yeah, it's the first to get a third season. It's one of the only to even get a second season, right?
In terms of if you count the Star Wars shows the only one. Yeah, Mandalorian, but that's it. But yeah, and then there's also this. Dexter was planned to be expanded into a universe with multiple spin-off shows. Those plans seem to have been scaled back after the merger. Any
It's
thoughts on
unfortunate. I was really excited to see Dexter build this big universe, especially because Resurrection was such a great show. It wasn't perfect. It had a lot of flaws in terms of where things went and stuff and like that, but it was definitely a return to form. And
And
I was excited to see other spin-offs, but yeah, that's not happening.
And Dexter original Sin creator is not happy about the show's renewal and cancellation. It wasn't handled well. This situation is just overall just very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's such corporate brain and so it's so depressing to renew a show and tell all that cast and all that crew you're gonna have work. It's okay. You're gonna have work for like a year, making the whole entire season of a show, and then it's all pulled away from
and
them.
then they brought the kid who plays Dexter and the actress who plays Deb. They brought them to the premiere of Resurrection. I hope they at least do some flashbacks and let him come back.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think it did have to do with Paramount merger, but I also think Dexter Resurrection just kind of usurped all of these other shows, and it's a shame.
There's this new Puck News piece, and in it they reference that a strong Hollywood source has told them that Netflix has entered the bidding war over Warner Brothers for Paramount.
Wild. Could you imagine a streaming platform owns Warner Brothers, one of the iconic classic studios of Hollywood, gets bought by Netflix? That would be one of the saddest days in all of entertainment. I really would not want to see Netflix.
What happens to Warner Brothers if that happens? Like, how does that look?
They just become another little niche on the Netflix app. They probably keep Warner Brothers' studio alive because that's a great big brand. That could be Netflix's theater brand, maybe. Netflix is trying to figure out a way to make theater movies. Maybe they just have Warner Brothers be their theatrical movie studio and Netflix is their streaming studio. That could happen, but I really would not like that to happen. That's dystopian.
I can't imagine that. Then we got to mention Netflix is doing Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein screenings in IMAX. It's going to be limited, but
that's awesome. I hope I can see it. I'll try and stick it out, obviously, if I can. They tend to show them here where I'm at when they do limited runs for Netflix movies, but I don't know about IMAX.
Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. And then I also have to mention the Scorsese news. Scorsese allegedly has a film in development at this point. He has how many? 4? Yeah, at this point he has 4 movies in development. So I hope this happens, but I honestly don't really know.
It sounds like he set this as this will be his next movie. All these other maybe movies are not going to happen, at least not until this one happens.
Yeah,
this is his next film.
Because he's got Leo and Jennifer, and it says that Apple wants to fund it. So,
do you know what this movie is called? Do you have the title in front of you?
Yeah, it is. What's interesting to me is it's actually based on a novel, and it's a ghost story. So I'm curious how it works. The movie, the title is. Sorry, I just had this pulled up.
I'm sad he's not doing Devil in the White City. I was really hoping that would be his next. I'm hoping for that for so many years. I really want to see that adapted.
That's very disappointing because we didn't have news on it forever, and then it's back. And then I was also looking forward. Oh, okay. It's called. I don't think it has. Oh yeah. It's the running title is What Happens at Night. And it's based on a book. It's being set up at Apple, so it sounds like this will happen. But we'll see. Yeah, Apple is in talks to finance and produce with Studio Canal. It's a bummer, and I was really excited for that Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt one. That was really exciting to me. I hope that happens, but I don't know if it will.
Yeah, we'll see how Smashing Machine does. I think his Oscar performance is going to be what determines if that happens or not.
Did we? No, I don't think we got a chance to talk about Robert Redford. Robert Redford passed away at the age of 89. He was not just an actor, he was also very politically active, and he was also the founder of Sundance. So his legacy, maybe even more than being an actor, is the Sundance Film Festival, very sad news. One of our greatest actors, and he's definitely going to be missed.
Yeah, what talk about prolific. He's been acting since like the Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock and all the way through to the MCU. He decades in multiple eras of Hollywood history. Talk about an all-star and talk about somebody who just seemed to have a great heart. And he's like he said, he was very active in the environment and fighting for causes that were very important and things that meant so much to him and things that are important to all of us. It's always great when someone who becomes rich and famous can use that rich and fame for something that is actually helping the planet and the people on the planet. So it was unfortunate to hear that he passed away, but he lived a very full and a very complete life. So I'm happy to see that for him.
He was an actor who wasn't one of these kind of, people criticized Leo for being a hypocrite he's very environmentally active, but then he's flying his private jet. It seemed like Robert Redford actually genuinely cared.
Yeah, like you said, he founder of Sundance, one of the prominent film festivals even now. So yeah, between he's active for LGBTQ rights and just the preservation of film history, the preservation of natural resources, really a great influence and a huge loss.
Carlos Sofia Gascon is going to star in a Paramount Plus comedy, School of Seduction, from Italian filmmaker Carlo Verdone. Pass. Yeah, I don't know about this, buddy. I don't know about this.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this.
I don't. Yikes! Not good. Okay. I think. Yeah. I think
ending it on the Carlos Sofia Gascon story. You had to get that one in there.
That's yeah. Well, that's a good moment to end. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow for our Wicked trailer reaction with Andrew. I might even jump on and do a trailer review or something like that, depending on how the conversation is going. We'll see that tomorrow. On Thursday, we have Peacemaker Episode 6 review, the infamous, much anticipated last 3 episodes of Peacemaker are here. James Gunn is back in the director's chair, hopefully to inject some life into this slightly slowing down second season of Peacemaker. But we'll be here for it right after the episode airs to talk about it. We'll have a few more reviews. Oh my God, it is one battle after another week, baby. Can you believe it? It is here. The battle has arrived. We're still waiting for the other battle after this battle. But on Wednesday night, Ari will be seeing one battle after another. I'll be seeing it Thursday morning. I believe Michael will also be seeing it Thursday morning. So between the 3 of us, we'll be there Thursday night to do a spoiler-free review of one battle after another. And we'll come back in a few days later to do a spoiler-full discussion of that thing.
And I'll probably do a reaction on TikTok when I get out of it.
Yeah, we're going to be covering that thing quite deeply as the awards season kicks off. The Chicago Film Festival is coming up too. I'm going to try and cover Hamnet and a lot of the front runners that are showing there. An insane lineup this year for the Chicago Film Festival. We'll cover what we can, but yeah, awards season is heating up. A lot of reviews to come, a lot of awards roundtable discussions to come, and as usual, we'll be back next week for even more news. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there. Take care of the people around you, and we'll see you guys next week for even more great movie news here on Here's the News. Bye-bye.